Welcome to Counsel and Community.
Welcome to Counsel and Community, where legal insight meets real-life impact. Sophia Morales here with the Nelson Law Group team to share practical guidance on navigating legal challenges while offering tips for personal growth and financial well-being. We're so excited to have you join us here today to discuss marriage, mindset, and the coffee cup, avoiding divorce for men. Welcome back, Sarah and Brett.
Hi.
Thank you for having us again.
So, let's dig into this, because I think a lot of times the Save Your Marriage stuff is aimed at women. So talk to us a little bit about marriage as a partnership and what are some of the common misunderstandings that men have about this partnership?
Well, that's a great question. And I recently celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary, and Thank you. I reflected back on what I thought marriage was when I took the vows and what marriage really is, 25 years later. You think when you're going to get married that you have unlimited intimacy and, you basically just whatever you want, right?
The king in his throne. Yes.
Yeah, plug and play, serve me, right? And nothing could be further from the truth. The reality is that the marriage, the institution of marriage was designed by God not to make us happy, but to make us better human beings and more like He is. And once you understand that as a man, that your role, your singular function in the marriage is to lead the home as Jesus leads, and that is by service. And if you think that you are giving in to your spouse's decision or serving your children all the time, and you have no time to golf or go hang out with the guys, then you're probably doing something pretty spot on correct. The reality is that marriage is a partnership. It is a relationship that you have to pour into to get something out of. And if you are feeling like you're not getting what you thought you were going to be getting out of the marriage, then you need to look at yourself. What are you doing to serve it? And what are you doing to pour into your wife and to use terms that used to be used in grade school? Have you filled your wife's bucket?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there is this give and take that happens, right? And if she's pouring into you, you need to pour back into her.
Tenfold.
So what are some specific actions that men can take to demonstrate their commitment to their marriage? And if maybe there's a wife who's expressing some discontent, what can they do to show their commitment and that they really do want this marriage to succeed?
Well, the first thing is you need to listen to your wife's perspective. Whether or not you agree with it doesn't matter. It's what she sees of you. And it's your responsibility to change how she sees you if it's something that you don't agree with or that you actively disagree with. Can't get into an argument about what she is seeing. More likely than not, it's accurate. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to listen. Listen to what she is asking of you or telling you. Thirdly, don't try to fix her. She doesn't need fixed. She needs you to listen to what she needs and then act on it. I think that sounds pretty daunting and scaring and foreign to most people. But actually, if you do all of that, the thing that men are typically most interested in comes flowing back pretty quickly in great volumes.
Amen.
And so, those, making your wife feel heard, making her feel safe, making her feel understood are all keys to a successful relationship that includes the amount of intimacy that you expect as the husband. So, start there. It's not, working hard, producing a lot of income, mowing the grass, all this busy work. That's not going to get it done. Martha and Mary, the story holds true in the household as well. Don't be a Martha. That's right.
Yeah. Good. Well, and I'm thinking about this, because there is a lot of busy work on the man's side traditionally, right? Be the breadwinner, fix the car, mow the lawn, all that kind of stuff. But I think being a woman from the woman's side, sometimes I just need you to listen to me. You don't have to do anything with it. I just need you to be present with me and let me share my heart.
100%. And when you listen, make sure you're hearing what's being said and ask questions. Don't offer advice, a solution, or your opinion. They're
Yeah,
not asking for that. They just want you to listen and hear them.
exactly. Which probably feels, what I want to say, almost goalless to a guy who always has these goals ahead of him, right?
It's
uh,
really foreign. Most
yeah,
men are fixers,
yeah,
and their wives don't want fixed.
exactly. Well, and I will remind mine before I sit down. I'm like, you don't need to do anything with this. I just need to share it.
And that is an excellent way to preface a communication, especially if it's an issue that you have in your marriage. That's meeting your partner where he is at, and that type of comment and communication can be very effective.
So, speaking of effective, I know, Sarah, you have a coffee cup story you'd like to share with us. Tell us about the coffee cup.
I was just thinking about this the other day. I was putting my coffee cup, I set it in the sink, and then I stopped and took a second and put it in the dishwasher. Because
Ah, ha, ha.
years ago, I read this story and it made such an impact about a man. I think the title of the article was "My Wife Left Me Because I Left My Coffee Cup in the Sink."
Oh, wow.
But the thing was that for years, the guy had put his coffee cup in the sink, and his wife had said, "Can you just put it in the dishwasher? Or if it's full, can you at least rinse it out so it doesn't get the
The
whatever in it?"
ring. Yeah.
And so she divorced him, and it wasn't about the coffee cup, but it was about the continued years of him not listening to a small thing that she needed. It's a thing that bugs me. Can you just do this thing? And so over time, she felt completely unheard and like her needs weren't important and unloved, and she ended the marriage. And so these little things, these little coffee cup things that people do, and it's not really a big deal, but it builds up over time. And those kinds of things are important.
They really are. The small considerations really show that you have listened to your partner. And even if you, especially if you don't think it's important and you go to the trouble of taking care of that anyway, it really is an act of love and consideration.
Yeah.
100%. The other little dig that comes around and over time causes a great deal of damage is if you poke fun at your spouse, and they're the butt of the joke or the focus of the joke, and it's not funny when you're making fun of somebody to make others laugh, because the person that's being poked at is being degraded or made to feel of less value, and that really really impacts people over time. And the person typically doing that just doesn't know it, doesn't understand that what they think they're being funny, but they're not. They're actually being destructive to the relationship, and that's really something people need to be aware of.
That's very true, because it's very easy to consistently make one person the target of that sort of thing, as opposed to, good-natured fun with everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
you really see it a lot in today's youth. They the tendency to poke fun at one, three or four people making fun of one, and the three or four are laughing, and the one's not really. You watch
Yeah.
that person's not really enjoying themselves. They're not thinking it's so funny.
Yeah, it hurts. I've
Mhm.
been on the receiving end of that. It is
100%.
definitely not fun.
And these are the types of little heart hurts that build up scar tissue. And the party that was doing the behavior that caused the scar tissue to build up comes up, "I have no idea why she left me," or "I have no idea why he left me."
Yeah,
And
why are they so sensitive? Because you
right.
keep poking that same spot.
And so that's when you really have to say, your inability to recognize this is why you're getting divorced. And then, previously, a previous podcast, we spoke about earning your way out. And that's why it's so important to sit down and earn your way out, because if you sit down and take the time to listen to your partner, you may learn some valuable information, not only about them, but about yourself, that even if this relationship isn't saved, it's going to improve the rest of your relationships.
Some of that information can be hard to receive because we all like to think that we're good people and we're doing the right thing. What do you suggest for someone who has some trouble hearing or receiving this information to make it a little more palatable and maybe a little less personal?
Well, first of all, it's not about whether the person is good or bad. It's about what's normal to them. What environment did they see growing up, and what did they witness as a healthy relationship when they were in their formative years. So most of the things that we're talking about are learned and taught before the person actually knows that they're being taught and learning something. So, recognition is the most difficult task when you're having marital difficulties. Where does this come from? And unfortunately, it comes from what you experienced during your formative years, and it's very difficult to change. You have to actively work on yourself and find the time to learn what activates you. What about your spouse makes you reactive to them as opposed to responsive? Because when you react, you're thinking on and doing something on emotion. But when you respond, that's more thought provoked, that's more prayerful, and typically you have a better result. But sometimes when a spouse says, does, or some other stimulant, it activates something in your unconscious mind that makes you react, which typically isn't pretty.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that reactiveness because I know a lot of times when you get to the point that you're thinking about divorce, you've kind of arrived at this moment where the other person in the relationship just can't breathe right. There's nothing that they can do right in your mind when you get into that state. And this is maybe a good question for Sarah. How do you start to diffuse that if you've arrived in that space?
I do a lot of work with our clients on reactivity. That's probably one, if not the number one issue in a divorce case, it's way up there because people are so activated and they're so in their dinosaur brain and they are not stopping to think. And so we do a lot of work on taking a pause, finding the thing in your body that starts to happen when you're about to shoot off that text message or say that thing that's going to not be beneficial or good, finding that space. And for me, with my clients, let's find the space. Where is this space between when you're balanced and good and then when you're going to fly off the handle? And if you can find that moment and have awareness around it, then you can take a step back. And Brett has a great thing that he says, don't respond to anybody if your heart rate is above resting. That's the thing. Yeah, body awareness of what's going on, being triggered if you're anxious, having certain times of day that you respond to things. Nothing's an emergency. You can say, I need to sit with that a second and come back to you and get yourself together. So there's a lot of things people can do to be less reactive. And it's very important, especially if you're navigating a divorce, because you can do incredible damage to your case, your time with your children, the outcome. There's attorneys that, Brett's great, but he can't fix everything. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
really,
better if you don't create the mess.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of divorce, I know you have this concept about the slow playing divorce. Tell us about that. What is that, and how is that a useful mindset for men who are facing some challenges in their marriage?
Well, when a man comes into my office and says, I don't want to get divorced. I'm kind of what we were talking about earlier, the little cuts that have caused this harm to the spouse over time, and they finally throw up their hands and say, I'm done. The person, that the offending spouse, was unaware of his or her behavior, and they want to try to reconcile. And quite frankly, if you get divorced, the likelihood to earn your way back into the marriage is very limited generally, because they're tired of you, they're done. But if you can slow play the divorce and really work on yourself and show the other party by your actions, not towards them, but how you live your life, and show them that your heart has changed and that you're growing closer to your relationship with God, there's a higher probability that they're going to be re-attracted to you, because they're going to see the person or the traits of the person that they originally fell in love with. Because let's face it, people don't marry someone that they don't at some point in time love and want to spend the rest of your life. You don't go through the process of getting married unless on that day you really had the intention of staying married. I mean, it's not, oh, I'm going to marry you for a few days. I'm going to marry you forever. So focus on, first of all, what's good about the person. And then secondly, you need to work on yourself and make yourself more Christ-like, so you're more attractive, not only to your spouse, but to everybody. I mean, have you ever walked into that room and there's just, or you've met somebody and there's just something about them that's different? It's not something you can really describe. It's something you feel. And what I've learned over time is that there's one thing that runs true for all the people that I've ever felt that way around, and they all had a really strong walk in Christ. And godly people are attractive people.
So, how can a man set a more realistic and beneficial expectation for themselves and, by extension, their partners?
Well, you reap what you sow. If you are kind, courteous, and honor your spouse, your children, and take your responsibilities seriously, and keep all of the honoring part at the forefront of everything that you do, you're not going to have any problems. Your expectations will be filled. Your needs will be met. It's the problem that I find in most cases is that, and especially when your expectations are here and your reality is here, this is your level of discontent. Right? So you got expectation, you got reality. You have one or two things to do: change your expectations or change your reality. You have the power to change both. Which do you choose to do?
Right.
Easy to change your expectations.
Yeah.
Absolutely to change your reality. It takes work.
Absolutely. Well, and sometimes it's a matter of moving both ends towards the middle, yes.
True. Yeah, very true. And you have to start somewhere. And I was 42 years old when I finally figured out that my role model was Jesus Christ. And, I'm a Christian, obviously, but, we don't market that. We live it. And our whole office is premised on we're here to serve. And it's consistent in everything that we do. And if you live your life with that heart of service, your problems are going to go away. If you are living your life with a heart of service and you're going to go to a contested custody case, it doesn't matter, because you are going in with the proper heart. You are going to have done, and you're going to be able to testify about what you have done because it was honorable. But when you're living an unhonorable life and you are living selfishly, that's when you have a hard time going into court to talk about it, because you haven't lived the way you know you should.
That is a really good point. And I think on that thought, maybe we should move into our mindful moment here with Sarah.
Our mindful moment. Think about how you can approach this next week in your marriage with a servant's heart. Just pick something that needs to get done. Maybe it's not your favorite that is on the plate of your spouse. Pick it up and take it over for them, and just watch and see how they respond. Don't point it out. Just watch and see how they respond.
I love that.
One
I love
last
those kind of practical experiments. Yes. What are your final words of wisdom for us?
It's not service if you expect something in return.
Oh, ow. Yeah, very good point.
So thank you.
Yes, I love that. And thanks to everyone for joining us here today. And remember, for more insights and exclusive resources tailored to navigating life's challenges, be sure to check out the Nelson Law Group app. And it's specifically designed to support you through the divorce process with expert advice and community resources. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more helpful topics. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments. For more exclusive content, including helpful guides like our Divorce Care Guide, download our app today and get the support you need right at your fingertips.